It was the night when Emeka was forced to leave his home that he first heard the gunshots. They echoed through the streets of Aba, a city in Abia State, Nigeria, like thunder that rattles your bones. His heart pounded. His mother, her face pale with fear, grabbed his hand and pulled him towards the back door. That night, Emeka's life would change forever. I remember the first time I met Emeka. It was in a small cafe in the heart of Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus. The walls were filled with the sounds of people chatting in different languages, but in the corner sat a man who didn't speak much at all. He had a quiet way about him, but his eyes told a story, one that spoke of survival, pain, and hope. His name was Emeka, and he came from a faraway place called Aba in Nigeria. Emeka didn't talk about it much, but the few words he shared left a deep mark on my heart. He was a refugee now, living far away from his home. But as much as he tried to fit into his new life, he carried a piece of Aba with him, a piece that was always with him, no matter how far he went. Emeka was born and raised in Aba, a bustling city in southern Nigeria. Aba was a place full of life, full of people hustling to make a living. There was always something going on, traders shouting in the market, the scent of roasted plantains in the air, and the sound of music from speakers on every street corner. Emeka loved his city. He loved the way it felt alive. He loved the people, his friends, and most of all, he loved his family. But things started changing in Aba. Trouble began brewing. The city that was once full of laughter was now full of fear. The government forces and armed groups fought for control, and innocent people like Emeka's family were caught in the middle. One night, Emeka's mother woke him up, shaking his shoulders and whispering urgently, "Emeka, we need to leave. Now." Her voice was filled with terror. Emeka could hear the sounds of gunshots from outside, the kind of sound that made his heart freeze in his chest. They grabbed their belongings in a hurry, nothing more than a few clothes, some food, and a little bit of money. They ran through the back streets, through alleys they had never taken before, until they reached the edge of the city. They didn't know where they were going. All Emeka knew was that they had to leave before the fighting reached their doorstep. After days of traveling by foot, catching rides from kind strangers, and surviving on very little, they finally made it to a safe place. But even there, things weren't easy. Emeka and his family were given shelter in a refugee camp, but it wasn't the same as home. There were no markets, no music, no friends. Just tents and people trying to survive. Emeka tried to keep his spirits up. He would wake up every morning with the hope that one day, he could go back to Aba. But the longer he stayed in the camp, the harder it became to believe that would ever happen. A few months later, Emeka was told that his family had to leave the camp and seek asylum in a faraway country. The place they were sent to was called Cyprus, an island in the Mediterranean Sea. Emeka didn't know much about Cyprus, but he knew one thing for sure: it wasn't Aba. It wasn't home. When Emeka arrived in Cyprus, things were very different. The streets were quiet, the buildings were tall, and the people spoke a language he couldn't understand. It felt cold to him, not just because of the weather, but because everything was unfamiliar. For a while, Emeka didn't know what to do. He didn't speak Greek, and he didn't know anyone. All he had was his determination to survive. Every day, he went out and searched for work. He found a job washing dishes in a small restaurant. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a job. And Emeka was grateful for it. But no matter how hard Emeka worked, he still felt like something was missing. He missed his home in Aba. He missed the sound of the market, the warmth of his friends, and the smell of his mother's cooking. Cyprus was a new place, but it didn't feel like home. There were days when Emeka felt like giving up. He would sit on the edge of his small bed, staring at the blank walls of his apartment, and wonder if he would ever truly belong anywhere. His new life was difficult, and the challenges seemed endless. He worked long hours at the restaurant, and still, it wasn't enough. He couldn't afford the life he had imagined. He couldn't afford the life he had dreamed of before everything had changed. The loneliness was the hardest part. There were no familiar faces around him. No one to laugh with, no one to share stories about Abba. The world around him seemed so different. Emeka missed his family the most, especially his mother. He missed the way she would sit by the window and tell him stories of their ancestors. Stories of strength. Stories of hope. But Emeka didn't let the loneliness swallow him. Every day, he woke up and reminded himself that he was a survivor. He remembered what his mother had always told him, Emeka, no matter how hard life gets, remember that you are stronger than you think. You carry our ancestors' strength inside you. And that strength will always guide you. One day, while he was working at the restaurant, Emeka met a woman named Maria. She was the owner of the restaurant, and she had noticed how hard he worked. She spoke to him in broken English, offering him a kind smile. You work very hard, she said. I can see it. I will help you. Emeka didn't understand what she meant at first, but Maria explained that she would help him get better work, better pay. She even helped him find a place to live, a small apartment not too far from the restaurant. Emeka was overwhelmed by her kindness. In a world where so many people had turned their backs on refugees, Maria was different. She saw Emeka not as a refugee, but as a person who was trying to make a life for himself. Maria's help wasn't just about finding him a better job or a better place to live. It was about giving Emeka something that was more important than money or work, the sense of hope. She made him feel seen. And that was something he hadn't felt in a long time. With Maria's help, Emeka started to feel like he was getting somewhere. He learned more Greek, found better work, and began to feel a sense of belonging. But even with all his progress, he never forgot where he came from. Every night, when he closed his eyes, he would think of Abba. He would remember the bustling markets, the laughter of his friends, and his mother's warm embrace. Emeka didn't just survive in Cyprus, he thrived. But his success didn't come easily. He had to fight every day, and sometimes it felt like the world was against him. He faced discrimination because of where he came from. He faced rejection from people who didn't understand his story. But Emeka was determined. He learned to push past the barriers, to keep moving forward even when the odds seemed impossible. One thing that kept him going was the thought of his family. Emeka would send money home whenever he could, and he kept in touch with his mother. He would send her pictures of his new life, telling her about his small victories, the little things that made him feel like he was moving forward. There were many nights when Emeka sat alone in his small apartment, staring out at the stars, thinking about the family he had left behind in Nigeria. He wondered if they were safe, if they were thinking of him too. But no matter how far away he was from them, Emeka always knew that they were part of him, and that the love they shared could never be broken, no matter the distance. One afternoon, while walking through the streets of Nicosia, Emeka met a group of other refugees from different parts of the world. They had all come to Cyprus seeking a better life, escaping their own wars and struggles. As they sat in a circle, sharing their stories, Emeka realized something: he wasn't alone. The struggles they all faced were different, but they were connected by one thing: hope. Each one of them, in their own way, was fighting for something better. And that was enough to keep them going. Emeka felt a sense of solidarity with them. He had found his new family. They may have been scattered across the world, but in that moment, they were united by the same dream: a better life, a chance to rebuild. Emeka's story isn't just about survival. It's about hope, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of a man who never gave up, no matter where life took him. It's about remembering where you came from even when the world tries to push you away. It's about fighting for a better life even when it feels like you're fighting alone. Emeka is still here, still working hard, still carrying a piece of Abba with him. And every time he hears the sound of a distant drum or smells the scent of roasted plantains, he knows that no matter how far he is from home, a part of him will always be there, in the heart of Africa, in the heart of Abba. And that's the story of Emeka, the refugee from Abba, who never gave up on the hustle even in the toughest of times. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this.